Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here and to be among a panel of established and renowned speakers. I didn't expect this morning to be part of the upcoming elections. Over the past month, we've seen the elections in the United States, but I think you showed this morning how efficiently you can do the next elections. So I think United States might take an example out of that. We have elections in the Netherlands coming up next year, so I'll definitely take Slido, I think it's called, with me to the Netherlands and propose that we do the elections in 5 minutes. That would be a great way to speed up things. I'm very honored to be here and share with you some insights on the digital journey of the Dutch government and more specific, the Dutch tax office. My name is Roderick Schreuder. I joined the founders of BiZZdesign 15 years ago. I'm currently CTO of the company, and I have been highly involved in the digital journey and digital transformation of the Dutch tax office in the Netherlands. 10 minutes, so it's short time. I'll mention a few highlights, and if you have any questions or would like to go into more detail, visit me at the booth. I'm here until lunchtime, so I'm gladly to speak to you about more details in this. Just to give you some background on the Dutch tax office, we support 8 million citizens. The Netherlands has 17 million citizens, and of them 8 million are paying taxes. 1.2 million companies, but we also have 6 million households, because the tax office doesn't only collect taxes, they also reimburse households for rent or healthcare costs. So we have kind of Obamacare in the Netherlands as well, and the Dutch tax office is in charge of reimbursing households in the Netherlands. The tax income is 230 billion a year, and the tax office also makes 100 million in payments, amounting to 10.8 billion euros in reimbursements to those households. So massive numbers, and you can imagine that these massive numbers have huge impact if you are transforming your organization to a digital company. And this digital journey, the digital journey of the Dutch tax office, started in '95 with the floppy disk. You probably remember the little floppy disk. I was at a conference a few months ago, and there were actually people there who had a hard time remembering that little floppy disk. But I can still remember the introduction of the floppy disk in '95. That was a big revolution in the Netherlands. Before that time, all the taxes were done manually, and in '95 the tax office refitted their whole organization to be able to handle those floppy disks. They made it downloadable a few years later, and then in the 10 years to come, they spent a lot of time in digitizing their organization, digitizing their processes, automating risk and fraud detection. But they didn't really innovate on the customer-facing side. So they spend a lot of time in making the organization digital and more efficient. In 2008, they introduced a new innovation, and that was the pre-filled tax. So instead of supplying information to the tax office was going to tell you what your tax information was going to be. And the only thing you had to do as a citizen was adjust it, accept it, and you were done. So they turned the whole value chain around at that time. Instead of gathering information from the citizens, they started gathering information from sources. A year ago, they introduced a tax app, making it even easier for citizens to accept their taxes. Right now, around 60% of the people just agree upon the proposal by the tax office and don't have to spend more than 5 minutes on doing their taxes every year. And right now, all citizens and companies in the Netherlands have the possibility to do their taxes online, and around 96% are doing that. There are still a few people who refuse to do it, and the law allows them, so they can still do their handwritten filing of taxes. But this number is slowly increasing up to 100%. This digital journey isn't over yet. For the years to come, they want to digitize all communication with citizens and companies in the Netherlands. This is a major operation, so they are going to spend the years to come on that. This seemed like a long time and a long journey, but if you look at the numbers and think about the complexity of these changes, these are massive and immense steps. And also, they used technology that was there at that time. Just to give you some insight, if you look at one of the major recent innovations, it's the pre-filed tax form. As I said, instead of gathering information from the citizen, they turned the whole value stream around. They started gathering information from the sources and collecting that and supplying that to the citizens. You can imagine that this has massive impact on the organization. Instead of looking at individual forms and individual cases, the Dutch tax office had to start looking at data quality, data integrity, traceability, had to be able to handle different formats from banks, insurance companies, pension funds. So this was a massive transformation for the organization. And if you look at the Dutch tax office over time, I think in '95 there were 40 to 50,000 people working. They already reduced that number of employees to 30,000, and they will further reduce that number to 25 based on all these digital initiatives. How did the Dutch tax office manage to do these innovations successfully? Meaning delivering this on time, because they couldn't let citizens or companies wait or say, well, we'll have it to you next year. They had to deliver these innovations on time every time, and with good quality. Because if you mess up on 8 million people, you mess up for 10%, those are massive amounts you won't be able to handle as an organization. They did two major things. One thing they did is continuously monitor their IT fitness. So they are continuously looking at their current application landscape. What's the technical condition? What's the business value? Does it fit the current needs, and will it fit the needs in the future? And they manage that continuously. This saves them funds and resources. They can invest in those innovations. And you see here how they plan to reduce their application landscapes in the years to come. Saving money, they can invest in those innovations. On the other hand, they used a collaboration platform to collaborate on these transformations and the design of these transformations. So have IT managers, portfolio managers, architects, designers, all involved in designing the transformation, but also dividing the transformation in manageable chunks so they can really implement these changes. This also gave them the ability to do impact of change analysis, not in weeks or in months, but in a few hours. So changes in legislation, they can see within hours how it impacts their total landscape, how it will impact the finances, the roadmap, their projects. And they can do this within hours. Also, if they have a technical setback, they can see how they can make it manageable. The digital design platform also helped them communicate with half a minute, communicate with all stakeholders and people involved in implementing these changes. They created a navigator. Oh, yeah, it's done. They created a navigator supplying every individual with the information they needed to make this change successful. So a lot of miscommunication was done with using a navigator, helping everybody to, and empowering everybody to drive these changes. If you look at the way they worked on this, they started with the floppy disk just in a project, in a program, using a collaboration platform. And you see the number of architects, designers over time increased. Current days, 1,500 people are working in this collaboration platform on a daily basis. And even more, like 5,000 people are using the information to help them guide the organization in these changes. So two takeaway points. They constantly monitor their IT fitness to get resources and funds to invest in these innovations, and they use the collaboration platform to design and deliver these innovations, giving them ability to immediately do impact of change analysis and supplying the whole organization with the information to turn this into a success. If you would like to discuss this in more detail, come to the booth. I'm here until lunch. And for everybody here, I would like to offer a new book we published recently, The Adaptive Enterprise. If you come to the booth, we'll send you a free copy of that book. And it entails our vision on these digital transformations and our experience in this field. I would like to thank you very much and excuse me for running over time.